In 1864, the Emerald City, as Manhattan was called, was the most important city in America, with the biggest banks, the deepest port, and 814,000 citizens. In one night, November 25th, 1864, the entire metropolis could have been destroyed, reduced to a pile of ashes. Within minutes of the first outbreak of flames, the city's 4,000 firemen would have been overwhelmed. Winds blowing over the Hudson River would have swept the flames over the island in a matter of hours. Tens of thousands of people would have died in the firestorm. Everything below 26th Street would have been destroyed. That frightening scenario, the deadliest attack on American soil ever conceived, is the subject of a vast and fiendish plot, the Confederate attack on New York City by Clint Johnson. This book tells the little-known but true story in New York City history of how 6 Confederate officers tried to set fire to 20 Broadway hotels. Their goal was to damage Northern civilian morale by bringing the war to them, just as it was being taken to Southern civilians. Leading the force of saboteurs were 2 24-year-old officers in the Confederate Army. The oldest of the attackers was just 29. They were all brave young men who fervently believed in the Confederacy. They knew they risked execution if they were caught in civilian clothes they wore. Helping the Confederates were several New Yorkers, including one of the city's leading newspaper editors. 2 U.S. Democrat congressmen and even New York State's Democrat governor may have known of the impending attack. The weapons of mass destruction chosen were 144 vials of Greek fire, an ancient chemical weapon that burst into flame when exposed to air. The Confederates were actually kind-hearted in their attack planning. They set their fires early in the evening so no one would be asleep. The attempted attack failed miserably. None of the hotels caught fire because Confederates did not leave their hotel room windows open, so the fires they built were robbed of oxygen. But had the Confederates gone after more vulnerable targets, the Emerald City would have been destroyed. On the west side of Manhattan, in today's meatpacking and arts districts, were more than a dozen lumber yards, 2 distilleries for liquid fuel, and the biggest prize of all, the Manhattan Gas Works. The potential for destruction can be calculated. The worst fires in New York's history in 1776, 1835, and 1846 all started from single sources. The Confederates could have started 144 separate fires. Had the Confederates sabotaged the simple valves regulating gas pressure at the Manhattan Gas Works, the gas pressure entering homes and businesses throughout Manhattan would have been dangerously high. Any lit fixture would have flamed up, creating thousands of fires in thousands of locations. Read A Vast and Fiendish Plot, The Confederate Attack on New York City by Clint Johnson, to learn how the first terrorist attack on the nation's largest city was planned and executed. There is no doubt that Manhattan narrowly avoided becoming a distant memory to history.